What's up, everybody? Brett here, back today with another Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer replay. This time it's going to be me playing against AC Proud King. So I've got a couple prefaces here before we even start this actual replay, this actual battle in Hell Pit. I'm going to be playing as the Empire, rocking Boris Todbringer. My opponent, Norska, rocking Wulfric. So this was match 2 that we played in a 2-match, kind of on accident, sort of like grudge battle that we had. So just straight up quick battle. We weren't intentionally playing against each other, but we played against each other once. Let me go ahead and slow-mo this bad boy. We played against each other once, and I'm not ashamed to tell you that AC Proud King smashed me. I was playing as I normally do, trying fun, kind of ridiculous builds. You know what? Let's actually pause it just for a second. If you'll indulge in my rambling, it hopefully will be worth it. I was just kind of doing what I do, you know. I was playing sort of ridiculous fun builds on the ladder. Normally, I would say most people on the ladder, if you're just kind of, you know, queuing up for quick battles, I would say I'm able to beat even with a slightly silly build. And that's just my experience. But every now and then I run across someone who is just like genuinely gifted, and that was AC Proud King. So his build also in the first battle was such the antithesis of what I built. And the reason this is interesting is because he played Empire and I played as Norska. So I was trying to like develop some sort of goofy, like really thematic beast build with Wulfric, and he brought a build that had the Luminarch, god dang it, Marcus Wolfheart, and the Light Priest combo with the Nets of Amnatok, and he just sniped out all my beast. I didn't have enough. I didn't go wide enough with this build to like counter his play. He had halberds and I think outriders. It's just tons of armor piercing. Everything he had was basically focused on Lord sniping or single target entity sniping, and he was able to do it. And I just wasn't prepared for that. And I was like, dang, that didn't feel good. And then I queued up for another battle, and I was like, you know what? I got to get something a little less one-sided than that. And I got him again. I said, you know what? This time I'm going to play a little bit more serious, but also, you know, got to keep it true to myself. I got to keep it a little bit goofy. But I saw the map. I saw it as an opportunity to do a bit of a rematch. I went ahead and picked Empire. He went ahead and picked Norska. We rolled it back, and what happened this game was truly awesome. And I haven't had a good battle like this in quite some time. If, in my own mind, I am sort of the king of goofy builds and trying to make them work, this guy seems to be quite the good player at making very serious and well thought out builds work. And his ability to, you know, pick at a single entity and get it dead is something that I often overlook sometimes in my own play. I try not to Lord snipe. Lord sniping to me is a sort of unfun way to win a battle, but sometimes it is the way you have to win. And you have to take advantage of your opponent's mistakes if they let their lord get isolated, something like that. And yeah, we'll see how that comes into play in this battle. So I've got the high ground, which, you know, obviously I didn't know that was going to happen. I don't have all the maps memorized, but this particular map really lent itself towards my build. I've got this like little bits of terrain here that are kind of lending towards my defensive position. He's got some Norscan Warhounds on either side. These are actually the Beasts of Tashnar that are ready to sort of envelop me if I hadn't protected my back line. My back line is protected with basic spearmen, and I've got my Demigryph Knights and Empire Knights held in like deep reserve to protect my back line as well. I've got a single group of Huntsmen. Let's go ahead and zoom in. For those of you maybe have never seen some of these models before, if you're new to Total War Warhammer 2. Huntsmen, these are my anti-large stalk archers. They have good range. They are going to be there versus the large targets. I've got them behind my artillery with two groups of really cheap archers in the front. I like to use them just to keep away Marauder Horsemen, which I almost certainly knew would be in this fight. My front line is just all spearmen with shields, which are super cheap, which is the only reason I took them. They're not going to trade very efficiently versus Marauders or Marauder Berserkers, but they do just need to hold. They're backed up by Free Company Militia with their pistols, but in a pinch, you just kind of throw them into melee and see what sticks. My Lord and Mage choice, you know, Boris Todbringer, I love him for his kind of staying power. He has natural regeneration, and he makes everything around him weaker and makes himself stronger. He's just got all these different buffs. that are all just kind of static. And on his Griffin, he's a pretty mobile, fierce threat. And then kind of as a 1-2 punch with him, I have the Amber Wizard with only 2 abilities. Flock of Doom and, what's it called? Of something of Kadaan. Transformation of Kadaan. Okay. It's one of the better spells in the game. They've made it over time. They've nerfed it. They've made it cost more. But it summons a Manticore. And the Manticore is a pretty good little beast to have. So, and then Blood Roar from the Griffin is another cool ability which lowers leadership. Pretty good against basic Norscan troops. Not so good against Berserkers who have high leadership, but pretty dang good versus Marauders. So, you know, pretty basic wizarding kit. 2 spells you can't really mess up, right? Flock of Doom and Transformation. And then I've got 1 Mortar and 1 Great Cannon. Right now, I'm just going to have them start shooting down the hill. My opponent is an alternating line of Berserkers. Let's go ahead and look at these Ragnar Lothbrok looking dudes. The really cool tattoos. But yeah, check out how sweet these dudes are. Whenever I play like a Norscan campaign, I almost never want to make the Marauder champions. I just want all Berserker front lines all the time. But yeah, Marauders, Berserkers, Marauders, Berserkers, all the way down the line. Wulfric the Wanderer on foot, but he does have the Hunter of Champions, which is going to come into play later, as well as the Famir Balefiend's abilities, which it is rocking. I tried to dodge his abilities all game, and I was just that little bit too slow almost every time with my slow as heck Empire troops, because he's got the Penumbral Pendulum. You got to slow down when you say that word. And Enfeebling Foe, which lowers melee defense and melee attack. Once again, kind of a bit of a 1-2 punch. If you use that in conjunction with the Hunter of Champions, you can find yourself easily wrecking people. He's even got some Norscan Ice Wolves, an inclusion that I also like quite a bit. I like the option of Frostbite. Once again, another means of slowing down your opponents. And then all Marauders with throwing axes for their heavier AP over and above regular Marauders Horsemen. And a step below Marauder Horsemasters, which have a bit more melee utility should you need that sort of thing. So, alright, let's do it, guys. So my opponent has kind of the edge in skirmishing. However, I do, of course, have the artillery advantage. So he needs to come to me. He identifies that very quickly. The sign of a veteran player, in my opinion. You just know, like, you look at my build, you see artillery, you know you don't have artillery, you need to start moving forward. I'm going to get just an easy Flock of Doom going down here. I was actually kind of curious what sort of damage it could do. I just sort of cast it in this battle just to see, and it didn't do really anything. But if I had timed that with a combination of a charge into them while that was going off, I think that would have been enough of a leadership shock to potentially just throw them off the battlefield. I've got my Demigryph Knights here parked. I've adjusted my formation. I'm not trying to deploy too close to the edge of the battlefield. That's just kind of cheesy. I tend not to do that. I think I've given enough space for it to be more fair than not. I've moved my archers and my huntsmen to counter these Marauder Horsemen. And yeah, I tried to move these guys at the last second, but they ended up getting wrecked. And he even caught some of the spearmen with shields in the front. And you can see he's using a nice kind of like timed flanking maneuver. They haven't engaged here yet. They're just now engaging in the front line. The front lines are clashing. And he's ready to engage on the other flank as well. But no gaps. I'm trying to protect my artillery. Another Flock of Doom coming down. Really trying to be a little bit smarter about... Yeah, once again, I didn't dodge that either. The long ship there from Wulfric. I tried to, but I ended up not being able to. Empire Knights going in there. Demigryph Knights going in there. Boris Todbringer going in hard on Wulfric. Getting the good charge. Hunter of Champions popped. And this is honestly sort of where I stopped watching. I'm like, I've got a Pharaoh Manticore and Amber Wizard. I don't know why the Pharaoh Manticore didn't dive down. I remember giving him multiple commands, and then he just sort of stayed in the air, and then when I looked back seconds later, he was still up here. And I didn't really understand why. I think it must have been a bug. I'm willing to accept the fact that maybe I misclicked, but I remember clicking over and over and over again, and I kept coming back to it, and it kept moving and then stopping and moving and then stopping. But we've managed to drive some things away, but I really haven't gotten any like incredible picks. My firepower here, and you'll see there, Cravens, your warriors flee. So he used the Norscan Ice Wolves to pin in their mass, allow them to pin in Boris Todbringer, whose regen normally would allow him to survive this. but he crushed me. And now he comes. I'm like, wait, what the heck's happening to Boris Todbringer? My Manticore comes in. It's too late. He's going to shatter and rout off. I honestly couldn't believe it. Scroll of Shielding went off on him. My Amber Wizard also gets wrecked. I had so much here. On paper, I think I win that fight 9 times out of 10, but I didn't think I needed to babysit that fight. But apparently I did. Some of my front line has melted. I'm going to constantly be trying to rally my Spearmen to make sure that units like these Marauders don't get in. If he had gotten in right here, I think this battle would have turned out quite differently. My Amber Wizard, thankfully, is running over this bit of terrain that my opponent's units are going to have a hard time following, so he's going to have a chance to rally. So in some ways, I'm failing, right? In some ways, I mismicroed my Lord and Amber Wizard, which are arguably the 2 most important pieces that I had. But I'm doing a good job in microing my artillery, my mortars, and my cannons, and giving them appropriate targets. And I'm also doing a good job in microing my Demigryph Knights and my Empire Knights, and dealing with the threats on the flank. So I messed up here, but I did good on both the flanks, right? In the center, I did a bad job. Other places I didn't do so bad. My Amber Wizard, these guys were charging straight for me. I thought, you know what? Get in there, cast a Flock of Doom, and see if I could instantly break them. And that last volley there, like, really, really crushed my soul. Right as we went in, we broke them, but that was it. So that's it for my leadership core, guys. I got outplayed and outlucked, I guess. A little bit of outluck. I played poorly, he played well, and that was all it took. There's my leadership core, done. At this point, I think a lot of players might have given up. And I wouldn't blame you. I honestly wouldn't blame you. I've got a lot of my stuff is half dead. A lot of my stuff is routing. And it's getting worse. And it's looking worse and worse and worse. His Marauders are getting stronger. His Berserkers are getting stronger because of their Rage buffs and Berserk buffs. The longer they stay in melee combat, the stronger they get. Another cast there from Seafang, from Wulfric. Look here. Almost my entire army has routed. Look at the balance of power. I am getting smashed. That's like 65... 65-35, something like that, in my opponent's favor. The white line is right here. My entire army is broken, headed for the white line, but here are the true MVPs of the Empire, the warriors that we need and deserve. The Demigryph Knights are cleaning up all of these Norscan Ice Wolves, driving them off the battlefield, protecting the Huntsmen who still have ammo, and are shooting into the backs of these Marauder Horsemen. My artillery has been driven off. My great cannons are driven off. My mortars, let's see here. They're nearing the edge of the battlefield, but I haven't given up hope. The Demigryph Knights coming back to center. The Huntsmen are shooting down these Berserkers who are rampaged. They're going to take a lot of them out, but enough of them are going to make it in to cause me some problems. We're going to slam into these other Berserkers here. Do what we can against them as much as it makes sense to fight them, because these are standard Demigryph Knights. These are not the ones with lances. These guys are pretty good versus infantry. More archers coming back with ammo. My spearmen are rallying. The backbone of the Empire. Come and save your brothers. I need to peel off my archers so that I can use the rest of this ammo, and so that my spearmen can try and continue to get more value. Another huge charge in here with the Demigryph Knights. These Marauder Horsemen are probably taken off skirmish at this point, so they could be used to chase things down. And because of that, these Demigryph Knights, man, they got in and they started chewing on these Marauder Horsemen. Go ahead, K-mode this, because it's beautiful. And I'm playing... Oh, there's another good fight right here, too, that I get in from behind. I was able to pin these Marauders. But I'm bouncing around with my remaining Empire Knights and my Demigryph Knights, and I'm smashing. I'm trying to pin things in place with my wrecked Spearmen, and then get good rear charges with whatever I can. These guys are going to probably kill a few more of these Marauders and then bounce to a new target. The Empire Knights, these other brave souls, steel-clad souls of Sigmar, we're securing, right? My Spearmen are back. I've got my mortar teams back online. I've got my archers with their limited ammo. Huntsmen almost out. Only one volley left for them. One group of archers, two group of archers with decent ammo. I've got one Free Company militia with 37 models. And I've got some other spearmen here coming back. And that's it. I'm reclaiming this high ground position. I'm reforming ranks. And I'm also thinking, please God, don't have more spells to wreck me with. And here we go. I moved at the last second, and I was like, oh no, I picked the wrong direction. That time I was actually expecting it, and I was early, and then he put it like... he put it like dead on. I was like, oh, wait. All right, I messed up. He caught me with another good one. He didn't miss, I don't think, at all this battle. So good for him. He got a lot of value from his Famir. Not a ton of kills, though, but just a ton of damage. His damage value is great. Archers, killing it now. The mortar back online. Going to be shooting at whatever's you know, blob the most. I think I probably end up switching its target at some point here. Spearman running in. Demigryph Knights. I don't want these things. I don't want these Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes anywhere near my Demigryph Knights. And he's going to move forward with his his Famir Balefiend, who's not a bad combatant, right? Does magic damage, sunders armor. But against the Demigryph Knights, even the standard ones, not the anti-large variant, with the help of the Spearmen, they're going to chew through him right away. And my Free Company Militia, my Empire Knights, even my Huntsmen going into melee here to help out, they are going to be enough. Man, another good cast right before I break him. That hurt my soul. I'm going to rout off 2 of my Spearmen. And it looked like another group of Spearmen potentially completely broken. And while the Empire Knights had no chance in hell of killing Wulfric, they were enough with those Spearmen to hold him in place long enough for my Demigryph Knights, all 11 models, to close the gap and surround him. So I tried to do the good old trick of like pulling past him and then giving new attack orders so that way they would surround. And the Huntsmen here are going to provide kind of like a sticking agent. I don't know why they're still so bunched up. They might have still been in guard mode, even though I'd switched them to melee mode, so they weren't really following the orders. But when I saw that these Marauder Horsemen without ammo were going to try to rear charge my Demigryph Knights, I tried to break it with the Huntsmen. You know, once again, my Free Company Militia is still online. Some of my Spearmen are routing and rallying, and I killed Wulfric there at the very end, and the Famir was shattered. But what a close game. The mortar was still online. I was so glad that I didn't give up, because there was definitely a point there where I think the balance bar was like 70-30, and if you've played enough games, you know that most of the time, I'd say, oh man, I don't want to give ridiculous stupid stats, but like 95 times out of 100, right? 95% of the time, when the balance bar swings that heavily in your opponent's favor, you're not coming back. It's just such a realistic representation of the probability of your loss that you're just going to get out of it. So I wanted to say AC Proud King was a great player right up front. I wanted to say that he smashed me in the first game right up front, so you could appreciate how awesome of a comeback this game was. And then after this battle, I sat out and I was like, all right, we got to get the rubber match. And I didn't. I should have like added him or asked him if he wanted to be like friends. That way we could play a third game. But I didn't even think about it. I was just like, all right, let's get back in another quick battle and see if we can play him again. But we didn't get matched up against him, and I decided just to cast this game because it was the much closer of the two. But hopefully, I hope you see this, AC Proud King. You were an excellent player. You really turned up the heat on Boris. I think this game, honestly, this battle, not close if I don't throw away Boris Todbringer and my Amber Wizard. Not close at all. I think it's also, we would have traded perhaps had my Manticore not continuously like dropped orders. I don't know if it was dropping orders. I don't know if I misclicked. But I remember going back to it twice and being like, why are you still in the air? And then I would click, I would see it moving, and then it would stop again. So, I don't know. I've had a few buggy experiences lately when I've been playing campaign. I was playing a Lizardman campaign. It seems like maybe the Lizardmen are still the race that has the worst drop orders. I see it all the time. And I used to think it was just because of like the routing, but I see it all the time with Saurus Warriors. You know, you give them the command and then like you'll watch the charge and all of a sudden they all just stop at like a dead stop. And there doesn't really appear to be any reason for it. But anyway, MVPs, let's check out like stats, right? Boris, nowhere near paying for himself. Amber Wizard, same deal. I should have gotten like a double Manticore summon off this guy. He should have done a ton of damage, terrorizing stuff in the backfield. I should have kept them way in reserve. I didn't need to be as aggressive as I was. But I thought for sure I saw an opening and I was just incorrect. Spearmen held. These guys were in the back. The ones in the front actually pretty much nearly paid for themselves. And just defensively, holding long enough to allow my super cheap archers, these guys are 350, to get nearly 1,000 gold worth of value here. Yeah, I like my Free Company Militia play, but they could have just as easily been like another Archer and another Spearman. The Huntsman did really well. I think they're a unit that a lot of people sleep on. They picked up 2 chevrons this battle. My opponent didn't really go for much large, but they really rained death down on the Marauders with throwing axes. Empire Knights did very well, but here you go, man. The Demigryph Knights were the MVP. They were the only thing left on the battlefield that could have possibly threatened Wulfric and the Famir Balefiend. They were the only thing left with the armor piercing, with the weapon strength necessary to do that to them, and then the cannon. And the cannon was there in case there were some, really clearly large targets, some mammoths or something like that. Some trolls, frostworm, something like that. I wanted to have some ability to pressure it. Meanwhile, the mortar was there in case of a build like this. So just kind of trying to cover all my bases. Let's see here. His Wulfric got a lot of value. Famir, not so much. I mean, the pendulums were on point. They were hitting really cheap units, which is kind of the benefit of my build. The Marauders, some of them paid for themselves, some of them didn't. The Berserkers, for the most part, kind of underperformed. 2 of them did. Oh, this one got more than its value. The rest of them, not so much. They kind of got torn up by the Archers. And kind of a similar story for the Horsemen, who sort of paid for themselves. And then the Hounds never really could get in. Yeah, the Ice Wolves play, pitting me in with Boris, was exactly why he brought them, no doubt. They have the mass, they have the frostbite. They did a good job. Expecting probably Karl Franz, perhaps. I've been seeing him a lot in the meta and on other YouTubers' videos, so probably expecting me to dive in with Karl Franz, and he was ready with the quick reply. But that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks again to AC Proud King for the excellent game. And that's it. Brett, Good Talk Gaming, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Later, guys.